All right, you guys. Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to another episode of the Breakfast Show with Marisha LaShay. It is so good to be before you guys this morning under the sound of my voice. Yeah, I'm just glad to be here, definitely, because I have dropped one season, two seasons, three seasons, four, and this is the fifth. And it's just an actual continuation because back in November, of course, I celebrated my anniversary of my podcast being in effect for 2 years. That's not small, that's a major accomplishment. Meanwhile, I'm definitely excited because the celebration still continues. I do not take the opportunity lightly to be before you guys. I definitely appreciate it. I don't take it lightly. But I just appreciate God for being with me and being able to provide me with the inspiration in places and people. I'm eternally grateful and I will always keep expressing my gratitude because it keeps me grounded, but it also keeps me humble. So, as I go ahead and move on to the acknowledgments, I want to definitely thank God for everything that He's just doing in my life currently, for my gift of gab, for all my supporters. It wouldn't be possible if my parents didn't procreate to create me. Um, my son, um, all my family, my friends, my supporters. None of this would be possible without people being able to actually tune in and listen and follow me throughout this journey. Um, yeah, just want to make sure I'm not forgetting anybody. Then I would like to go ahead and go into the history of the Breakfast Show with Marisha LaShay. This originally began back in November of 2020 during the pandemic. My dad and I were working on projects and having morning meetings. One day, a morning meeting, my dad and I created the Breakfast Show with Marisha LaShay because we asked each other thought-provoking questions, and I ran with the idea of being able to reach a bigger audience with some of these thoughts and create an actual safe space for others to engage my content. Then we decided I would go live in the months that had 30 days. So the months that have 30 days allow me to be able to have 30 episodes for one season, which will be in the months of April, June, September, and November. So today will be day 15. This show will be in effect for the next 15 days. Let's go ahead and run this marathon with me being able to use my gift of gab to inspire, to motivate, and to encourage others to reach for the stars based on real life goals and real situations. So as I stated before, there are going to be 15 more days that I will be before you, and then y'all know I'll take a rest, and then I'll come back. But I'm planning to drop something else in May, so stay tuned for that. Meanwhile, as we segue into the mental check-in, with the mental check-in, that is allowing you to be able to rate how you're feeling on a scale of 1 to 10 regarding your mental feelings and just your mental state of being. One being the worst day of your life, and 10 being the best day of your life. For me, I'm feeling my energy is very reserved, it's very high. So I'm fine for the most part, up and at it, getting stuff done. So the question for today is, don't ask God for anything if you aren't willing to keep God's promise and trust His timing and not your own, says who? So I'll go ahead and restate the question, then I'll go ahead and jump right on in. Don't ask God for anything if you are willing to keep God's promise, trust His timing, and not your own, says who? Is the question. So today, you guys, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I just said regarding the question. If you're going to ask God for anything, especially whether it's a new job, a new home, a new car, you know, to better your love life, whatever that it is, be sure that you understand what God's promise is. And that's going to allow you to be able to tap in to your biblical understanding of where you're seeking your knowledge, whether it's in a devotional, whether it's in an actual Bible, whether it's a spiritual advisor or your spiritual coach, because everybody have different beliefs. You know what I'm saying? So where are you seeking your wisdom from? Okay. And that's definitely important because you want to be able to have something to stand on. That's your foundation. Um, so with that being said, I have 7 steps that are going to be able to remind you to stay on track. The first one is understanding God's promise. And as I was stating before, take the time to understand the promises that God has already made to you. This will help you to align your prayers with God's will, not your will, God's will. Don't ask God to do something for you if you're not willing to follow his will and his way. Second, surrender to God's will. Surrender your will to God's will and trust that God's plan is better than your own. So if your goal is to get a house and you're going through all this different turmoil, evidently that is not the way that God wanted you to do. If you keep getting door after door shut in your face, it is because you are not aligning yourself with God's will and God's plan. That's not the way that he ever wants you to do it. Anytime that you normally get like a no or there's a door being slammed in your face, it's because you're not doing it according to God's will. You're doing it your way. And God's way is not going to be without that confusion and out of order. Sometimes we're not ready. We ask God for certain things and we're not ready because we didn't ask him to give us the wisdom to be ready to be able to receive the blessing that we want or the thing that we need from him. Third, you have to have faith in God's timing. So if you ask God to bless you with a new home, you need to be able to understand the process of what it takes to get a home. Being able to, get your knowledge, being able to get pre-approved, from your pre-approval, getting the right realtor, not because it's your homeboy or it's your homegirl. Get the right realtor. You need to be praying about everything as you're making each move. Checking in with God. You went and you asked him, but you can't keep him informed on what's happening, even though he already knows, but just praying about it and staying in tune. Because you're buying a home, it's an entire process. Number 4, pray with sincerity. Pray seriously and be very specific. When you do pray, do so with sincerity and from your heart. This will help you to connect with God and strengthen your faith. So if I'm praying for a new job, I want to be very specific. Don't be vague with your prayer. Oh, yes, I would just like a new job. Be very specific as if you would go to a restaurant and order your sandwich. God, I would like a new job. With my new job, I will need flexibility because I have a side hustle. So God, I'm looking for, know what you want. Know what you want. I would like to have weekends off. I would like to be able to travel, God. I would be able to, scale my business. I would be able to still, see my children, whatever. Be very specific. Because if you just tell God you just want a job, you could be a custodian and you hate cleaning. But he gave you a job because that's what you asked him to do. So be very specific when you're praying with sincerity. 5th, listen to God's response. So just like you went to go ask him, listen for God's response to your prayers and be open to receiving the answer in unexpected ways. Sometimes it's not going to come immediately right there when you want it. Sometimes it's going to come up in a person, a letter, a note, a sign, a dream, a vision. You never know, but you have to be willing to be alert and to be aware of when it's taking place. 6, keep your promises to God. If you make a promise to God, keep it. So if you say that you're not going to be going out to the club drinking every Friday, don't be going out to the club drinking every Friday. If you say that you're going to give it up for 2 weeks, then honor your 2-week commitment. If you say that you're not going to go in there on Thursdays, honor your commitment not to ride up in there on Thursdays. If you say that you're going to fast from 12 p.m. to midnight, honor your fast. If you say I'm doing 6 to 6, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., honor your fast. If you say that, God, I'm going to go to church 2 Sundays out of the month, then honor your commitment. If you say that you're going to give money to charity, then go ahead and write the check or drop the money off. If you say that you're going to do community service, get your community service project together and do what you say you're going to do. If you say that you're going to volunteer your time doing a pageant or choreographing a pageant, please be ready to serve. Because whatever that your commitment or your promise was to him, this is now testing you as a person and your character of your word. Your word is bond. What you're saying is is a promise. Because you have to uphold it. Just like you want God to keep blessing you and your family, yourself, your significant other. This will show God that you're serious about your faith and you're committed to following his will. Okay? And last but not least, you want to practice patience. Practice patience and trust in God's timing. So how do I practice patience? If I know that when I go to grocery store lines, that standing in line gets me, it just drives my gears, it grinds my gears, then I need to be praying. I need to be praying and thanking God that I can afford my groceries. I need to be thanking God, like, oh my goodness, what I'm going to think about dinner, what I'm actually going to make. Did I get more than one? If it's like condiments, do what we have enough at home? I mean, I know what I have in my basket. You just find ways to not focus on the negative when you're practicing your patience, because sometimes when we're patient, other people energies could rub off, because what we see as we're observing or in the line, some people could be snapping, some people could be up here cussing their kids out in the line. I mean, so much go on in the grocery store. You know what I'm saying? Another thing, if you know that you don't have patience, when people are indecisive and you work in customer service. So how do you handle that? How do you combat practicing patience? That is a level of patience. I worked in customer service for about 6 years. And most of all my customers that came through that store, I pretty much knew what they were coming to buy. I pretty much knew what their personality type was. And that's a lot of customers that I was seeing. I build rapport. Patience builds rapport sometimes. Patience already gets you prepared for what you're about to deal with and the unexpected if you allow yourself to be flexible. Same thing with practicing patience, especially in children. The funny thing with God and children is God allows you some of your behaviors to be mirrored in children so you can get the understanding and the scope of how you are a child of God, and how you act sometimes is how your child act, or how different children act that remind you of yourself. It's a mirror image. So, with that being said, remember that God's plan for you, it may not align with your own plans. Oh my goodness, my plan was to go to med school. Baby, I should have been sitting down in med school. Honestly, really should have been sitting down in med school. Really should have not been distracted. But at the same time, it was the patience that I needed to have for myself. It was the patience that I needed to have for the process. It was the preparation that I needed to be able to activate those patience at the end of the day. Because med school is the big leagues. This is not just, no, I'm going to just go to school and just be done. This is not that. This is me actually sitting down to apply myself. This is me actually sitting down to get my discipline up and be patient for myself and giving myself grace despite what's happening around me. This is also me learning how to mind my business. Understand, with patience comes growth. All the willingness to want to pop off and say so much, mind your black business. Mind your black business. Shut your black mouth. Because practicing patience requires you to be able to walk off sometimes, or just let the other party have it. It ain't even necessary. But it's always for your ultimate good. If you get your patience down pat, trust and believe that you'll be able to deal with a lot, and you'll be able to maneuver through a lot with the practice of patience. So I'm going to go ahead and recap these 7 steps based on asking God. Don't ask God if you're unwilling to keep God's promise. Trust his timing and not your own, says who? I say, he say, they say, she say. Number 1, understands God's promise. Number 2, surrender to God's will. Number 3, have faith in God's timing. Number 4, pray with sincerity. Number 5, listen for God's response. Number 6, keep your promises to God. And number 7, practice patience. So with that being said, you guys, this is the close of my show. Before I get up out of here, let me go ahead and recap you guys on my current stats. I know that I shared 2 goals with you guys last year in November, when I was celebrating my 2-year anniversary. I shared with you guys that I wanted to increase my listening base, and I wanted to reach 1,000 listeners. Actively, I currently only have 449 listeners, but it is an ongoing goal. Second, I also wanted to be able to expand on an international platform. I started off, of course, with no countries, got up to 7, and I've been working to get more, and I'm currently at 12 countries. and I'm looking to get 183 more. So I mean, it's a tall goal, but I'm definitely gonna stay in it to win it. And also, I also was only on like 3 platforms. I'm currently on 10 platforms. So yeah, I mean, I just have a lot of work before me, but I'm excited about it. And of course, if I can do it, anybody could do it. Anything is possible, but don't limit yourself. Also, I have some things coming for you guys. Something dropping in May. Of course, I'm coming back in June with another season. I'll probably be dropping another season. Who knows? I'll keep y'all in the loop about that. I'm also looking to drop some monthly subscriptions or whatever the case on different platforms such as Apple Podcasts and some other platforms. So yeah, be on the lookout. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Definitely feel free, drop any comments. If you're on YouTube, of course, you have a comment section. If you're on Facebook, you have a comment section, because I know that during the mental check-in, definitely do so to check in. I also forgot to tell you guys, this is part 2 of the Don't Ask God for Anything. It's a series, so this is the part 2 or whatever the case. Just wanted to let you guys know that because I didn't mention that earlier in the show. My bad. And yeah, that's it, y'all. Have a good one.